Talking to my girlfriend the other day about creativity, and this is more or less just a police report. To the best of my memory, this is what happened. We were discussing the fact that when she speaks, because she grew up in the corporate world, yeah, that's right, her mum was just sitting there going like, yeah, projections are up, and let me just have labour, and no, I don't need to sit down. Okay, so for the March sector, it's up by 2.7%. She, anyway, like, in a past life of hers, worked in the corporate world. So now when she's explaining things, she's always thinking about how to get the facts correct. And as a result of that, it kind of inhibits the way that she speaks. She's stopping and starting a lot because she's withdrawing into her mind. And when you are communicating, what you want to be doing is being out of your head as much as possible. What she was doing was not that, wasn't she? She was going, contracting herself like that garbage crush machine in Star Wars. That was her brain. That's what happens when you're just trying to recall every fact. And so she'd be sitting there and she'd have this speech pattern of going, well, I think that, no, he didn't say that. He said this. So it just kind of like destroys the flow of communication. Anyway, we're talking about that. And then it just came on to the point that what you want to be doing in life really is moving to about this area where 70% of what you tried to say was conveyed. Because even if you get 70% of it out, it's better than somebody who's trying to get 100% out. It just goes on to that perfectionist idea. Anyway, those are two sidetracks. This is like the first third of a Simpsons episode because this has nothing to do with either of those points. But then we were talking about the concept of creativity. I was just reading this essay by one of those dudes that, just some Indian guru guy that you just look at him and you think, damn, you got a lot of hippie pussy in your life. And with good reason. Listen to this insight on creativity. He was saying, you have to have a level of sensitivity when to be a creative. We have a level of sensitivity to be creative. What he's essentially saying there is that you need to be open to experiences. You need to see the world as it is before you can kind of create an alternative world or mesh that world together. But you need to at least absorb that world. Now think about that in your own life. I would wager that you have an artistic friend, somebody who paints a lot and been painting fairies most of the time. Heaps and heaps of fairies. Yeah, they weren't touched up at any point in their life. But this is my fairy. But what? So dark, but so true. I think that every time I walk past Tree of Life. But I think that what happens with a lot of creatives is that they are very sensitive souls. They're those people that if you say, hey, yeah, your dress is a little crumpled today. What do you mean it's crumpled? Or they're watching the news and then they'll have the, 6 Iraqis died in a bombing today. And then there'll be the people that are like, oh, that's awful. Anyway, what's a minute to win it? But then there'll be artists go, oh no, life is so fragile. Creative people usually are very, very sensitive people. On the other hand, people that are creative, your automatons, well, they're robots, aren't they? If they are just regurgitating exactly what they heard, they've got no spin on what they're saying, they're just these people that, did you see that the Raiders won by 2 points last night? Those people are very insensitive people. They're usually your classic Liberal voter. They're your Scott Morrisons, people who are given $180 million to do a Where the Bloody Hell Are You campaign, and it's so shit that it loses customers for Australia. That's the first thing you think when you look at Scott Morrison, isn't it? That guy is not sensitive. And I'm not talking about sensitive to yourself, right? When I'm talking about sensitive, I'm just talking about, like engaging the senses and kind of just looking at a lamp and going, whoa, trippy. And light comes out of it when it's nighttime. It's like a small sun, man. Those people are usually the creative people because they're interested, they're curious about things. What I think happens to creative people is that they are so involved with everything they do. The most creative people I know, it's just anything you talk to them about, they sit there and they mull on it, going, yeah, that's really true, that's amazing. Doesn't matter what you say. Paddington is close to the CBD. I suppose it is, man. That is really, yeah, wow. And it's never moved, really, has it? Has there ever been an earthquake there? Whoa, trippy. They are those people. They're engaged with whatever they're doing. And I think that leads to a life that is inner fulfillment, filled with inner fulfillment. Filled with inner fulfillment. That's my theory anyway. And I think that the people that are just like, that shit, fuck that, yeah, fucking Raiders. Those people, I hope it's one person sitting there in the Canberra Raiders jersey. What, they're not mad? I think those people don't have a very fulfilling inner world. And I also think that those people might be able to get further ahead in life than somebody who is just purely creative, because those people usually just rely on Centrelink for the rest of their life going, I could work at Taracash, but then somebody might say, can you hurry up and see if the shoes are at the back? You know, those people, I think, just sit there on the dole for the rest of their life, drawing just making psychedelic shirts, maybe selling them at the markets every now and then, if they can feel like it. But what you want to do, I think, is mesh those two things together. You want to be simultaneously sensitive and insensitive at the same time, because as this guy was rightfully pointing out, when you are creative, you are not looking for an outcome. And if you aren't looking for an outcome, that is going to be a deeply enriching, deeply rewarding experience, because no matter what happens, it's new and adventurous. It's kind of like how kids see the world. That's why when they speak, their speech patterns are sort of hypnotic in a way, unless they're just fucking crying. At which case you feel like chucking shit at them. Sharp shit. But if you're one of those other people that just plows on ahead in life, yeah, you'll move up in the world. But, who are the people that really move up in the world? They are both disciplined and creative. They are your autists. I really think that that is a recipe for being successful in life. Now, I could be saying this as a personal bias because I think that I do have, like, very autistic aspects. Well, not even that. You know what I am? I am your classic, starving 1800s composer that is not even aware of the fact that they're hungry, just being like, eat flat, and passing out. And then some maiden that has a crush on them coming in and just feeding them peas so they go, F murder! I think that what you want to cultivate is an obsessive mindset. You will see that word used over and over when you are looking at the lives of successful people or a successful company or whatever. It's always that same thing. They have an obsession with that outcome. I think what happens in that mindset is that both discipline and creativity start merging to the point that you're not even focused on it because you're just focused on one outcome. One thing. The mind just starts morphing into it, everything that happens around you. Like, I think what happens is when you are just in those situations where you're just talking to someone and they're just talking bullshit and the creative person sits there and is like, yeah man, true, underwear should, like if it had Thursday on it and you wore it on Thursday, that's practical, man. Whereas the other guy's just like, this is shit, fuck this. Like it's kind of like you just sit there and you're like, hang on, this isn't me being obsessed with toy trains for a second, but how could it relate to toy trains? That's the birthplace of creativity right there. And what happens as a result of that is that you're seeing your entire life through the prism of getting to that one outcome. And when you are seeing life and getting to that one outcome, everything sort of starts synthesizing around it. And because you have that one outcome in life, you also have the insensitivity to not let things get to you. Sensitive people are always trying to either please other people or they're always like crying in the corner. But if you are obsessed with something, it doesn't matter if you're just like crying. It doesn't matter if a bee stings you in the eye. You'll just keep riding with the eye that's open. No! That's why they're constantly talking about having an obsessive mindset. Being obsessed with something. So, what are you obsessed with? Or what could you be obsessed with, rather? If you are obsessed with something, you're probably not even watching this right now. You're probably just working on that because that's all you're thinking about. But if you are one of these people that's kind of like, you know, how do I be more creative or how do I be more disciplined? I think the answer in both is to get obsessive about something. What could you be obsessive about? And the way that you get there, I think, is just by putting more and more time into it. After a while, it just becomes habitual like everything else. So your entire life is geared around getting to that goal. It's just a matter of focusing on it more. Okay, so what are you obsessed with? What are you obsessed with? That's all I want from you today. That's all your homework, and that's pretty much all the homework I'll give this week because it's probably the only time that I'm going to remember giving out homework. Like this video, give me more questions.